putting Bode into a down on the mat. Yes. And then I'm going to tell him, Bode, stay. When we're working on a stay, we want to talk about 3 components: distraction, distance, and duration. Right now I'm going to work on a duration with Bode while I talk. Yes. I'm going to periodically reward Bode for staying in his position, but I'm going to try to make the time that he can stay on the mat longer and longer with each session. So eventually we want Bode to be able to stay on a mat for 1 hour while there's company in the house that's really distracting, and while his person who put him in a down stay is like in another room or outside at a far distance. That's duration, distractions, and distance. While he's still learning, we want to separate those components. So right now I'm working on duration. Yes. I'll periodically reward Bode here. But I'm gonna make him wait a little bit before I actually release him from the downstay. While I'm working on duration right now, I'm not gonna make things too distracting for Bode, and I'm not gonna walk a long distance away from Bode either. We need to make his idea of distraction, distance, and duration really solid and make sure he has a solid downstay with each of those components before we combine them all. Yes. If Bode gets up from his downstay before you release him, put him back into position into his down. That's really important information for you to know that whatever you just did was a little bit more tricky for Bode and he was not successful. So think about, what duration did you do, what distance did you walk from him, and what distractions might Bode be aware of. It might be things that you're not even considering, like smells, sounds in the distance, something that Bode sees that maybe you don't see. Yes. And on your next repetition, we want Bode to be successful, so make things a little bit easier for him. Maybe remove some distractions, make the duration a little bit shorter, or walk a shorter distance away from Bode. Bode's doing great here with this duration, so I'm gonna go ahead and release him with his release cue. Bode, okay, and invite him to get up. Good boy. So Bode is starting to understand that he only can get up from his downstay when he hears his release cue. Okay, good boy. I'm gonna put Bode now back into his downstay. Bode, stay. And let's talk about distance. So for distance, we'll start off easy. We started by taking like half a step away from Bode and then feeding him. Take a few steps away here because he's gotten pretty good at this. Something important to note is to always return to Bode to reward him. And even more importantly, return to Bode to release him. Don't walk 10 steps away and then from way over here, give him his release cue. I want you to always return to Bode and then say, okay, release him. The reason for this is that I don't want Bode to ever misunderstand something or mishear and think that when you're like across the room or out in the yard or not even in view, he can release himself from his downstay. I want to be very, very, very clear that a release is for his person to return to him and give the release cue. Okay, good boy. Good job. When we start working on distance, we're very calculated. We kind of take 1 step back, 2 step back, 3 steps back, 4 step backs, go 1 step at a time. With dogs, it's pretty typical that when you're walking away from them like this, they stay in a good downstay. And then when you're using a downstay in real life and you turn away to go do dishes or get the door or something, he gets up from his downstay. So I'm gonna put him right back in it. Yes. And this time I'm gonna make it a little bit easier for him. I'll turn around, take 2 steps away, come right back. Yes, feed him. Now I'll take 3 steps away, come right back, feed him. And now instead of doing this like super awkward, like creeping backwards, I'm trying to look normal so that this looks lifelike. Stay. Now when I'm working on distractions, I don't want my distance or duration to be too difficult. Drop a treat. Yes. Reward him for ignoring that distraction and staying in his downstay. Okay, now release him. He can go eat these treats if he wants to.